What's up, people? Today I am going to be reviewing Baldrick's Tomb. Alright, Baldrick's Tomb. It's made by Ben Haskett, and let's get into the overview. So Baldrick's Tomb is basically a dungeon crawler. You have this game board here with different numbered tiles on it, which correspond to these 8-sided dice that you roll, and will tell you where to place these rubble tokens. So it kind of is always changing. You have character cards, different one, 4 different character cards. The interesting thing about this game is that there are several different ways to play it. So you can play it as a solo experience. There's rules for that. You can play it as a cooperative game where you try to get rid of this necromancer guy. The solo player game has this extra stack card, or it can just be a head-to-head game where you try to see who gets the most gold in the end, the most money, treasure, if you will. And there's different category cards. There's trap cards, there's scroll cards, which gives you sort of temporary abilities, there's, gold and monsters to fight. And then your characters get these skill cards, which, you can line up you start the game with 3 different random skills. So each game, your character is different. There's a lot of variety, a lot of different ways to play. So I'm going to break my review down into 3 categories: components, learning curve, and fun factor. First of all, components. This game's got pretty good components. The cards are decent. They're not the best ever, but they're decent. You got these, chipboard type tokens. There's a whole bunch of them in the box for different aspects of the game. Overall, I'd say the quality is pretty good. One thing I have an issue with, though, is there's this hyper gloss to everything. The box has a ton of gloss. Everything is just, it's the glossiest game I have ever seen. It makes it look cheap. And it's actually pretty good, though. The artwork, everything is pretty good on all these cards. Is, different artwork and everything. It's actually really good artwork. It's just overshadowed by this gloss and this terrible font on the front of the box. And from a designing standpoint, it bugs me. It's a very small nuance, but a nuance nonetheless. So component-wise, I think I'll just have to give it a 3 out of 5 stars. Not the best, not the worst. Learning curve. This game is pretty self-explanatory when it comes to reading the rules and setting it up, putting things where they need to go, but there's a lot of things to be set. And there's a handful of rules. As I said, there is many different rule variants. You can play it solo, you can play it co-op, you can play it as just a player versus player. So there's all sorts of rules pertaining to those different categories or aspects of the game. So in some ways, it can be a little confusing on what you're supposed to do, but overall, it's pretty quick to pick up once you get going, but you might have to reference the rules a couple of times. So in the end, I would give this about a 3.5 out of 5 stars for learning curve. It's not overly difficult, but there is a lot to take in, especially if you're going to try to play all the different modes. Fun factor. Is this game fun? Yes, it is a fun game. Despite my other complaints about the glossiness and everything, overall it's pretty fun, and I like the unique mechanic of rolling to see where things go. You roll to see, you place these rubble tokens, and when you land on them, you can flip them over and see what they are. Overall, it's a fun game. You play it over several rounds, and you have this impending doom track that makes you need to leave that level of the dungeon and move on to the next level, and you can increase the difficulty or decrease it by different factors and stuff. But I played this with my kids, and we had a good time. The age range is pretty accurate. I think if you went much younger than that, it would get a little difficult to understand some of the higher concepts of the game and stuff, or maybe even the strategies and things like that. But overall, it's pretty basic and straightforward. So definitely I would give the fun factor a 4 out of 5 stars. So overall grade, is Baldrick's Tomb worth it? Well, based on what I gave each category, I would give the overall grade of this game a B. It's a fun game, and if you can get it, it's not terribly expensive on Amazon. I would check it out, as long as you can get over the high gloss factor that makes the box look incredibly cheap, and some of the components can look that way as well. But minor insight overall, if you get a chance to play it, it's a good family game, and I would recommend it. So make sure to subscribe and keep up with all my latest content, and I will be doing more of these review videos as well as other stuff coming up on my channel. So keep YouTubing it up.